Oye there, Belterlowda. It's the High Consul of Christmas here, dropping off a little belated present for you via the Ringgate network, that is YouTube. We're back with another awesome episode of the single greatest hard sci-fi live-action television show to ever hit our screens. Fucking fight me. And it's kicking off, boys and girls. Holy shit, what an episode for both book readers and show watchers alike. I mean, I'm loving this season. I hope everyone else is too. But anyway, let's just get into it. So Season 5, Episode 4 is titled Gorgamela, which is a book reference to Fred Johnson's analogy of Marco's tactics from Nemesis games. The Battle of Gorgamela was between Alexander the Great and Darius III, and the decisive victory of Alexander's invasion of the Achaemenid Empire, in which the heavily outnumbered Alexander managed to win using superior tactics. Essentially, Alexander pulled so much of his enemy out to the flank that a gap was created in the middle, and Alex managed to form a wedge, and leading the cavalry himself, pushed straight through and headed for the Emperor, which is exactly what Marco has done. So, episode 4 opens with the Razorback burning through the vacuum. As it zooms past the camera, the name changes from the Razorback to the Screaming Firehawk, which is an awesome reference to Season 1, when Alex suggested it as a replacement name for the Tachi. But of course, that was correctly shot down by Holden. The Screaming Firehawks is also the de facto moniker for the Expanse fandom, coined by Kassan Var himself. So I imagine people have soured it on that title a little now, but I don't care. I think it's still a great title. I also imagine that the name change is, also visual storytelling to let us know that Alex has changed the transponder name, as the Razorback will be quite famous, and their mission is clandestine in nature. We also get to see a nice shot of the Firehawk's custom paint job, in which we can see the evolution of aviation, starting with the arguable pioneer Icarus and his feather wings from Greek mythology, whom of course some of us will remember tearing them off and using them for ourselves in God of War 2, epic game. Although, remember, it was actually his father Daedalus who created the wings. Then we have the Wright brothers aircraft, arguably the first powered airplane to work, followed by the Spirit of St. Louis, the first aircraft to complete the first solo non-stop transatlantic flight. Next, I believe, is the Boeing 747, judging by the twin engines on either side of the wing, symbolising the era of modern commercial aviation. Then we have the space shuttle, symbolising man's reach for the stars, followed by what I think is supposed to be the Virgin Galactica, or Galactic, whatever it's called, marking the era of commercial spaceflight, I imagine. And the last two are, of course, the original history-changing Solomon. This one definitely didn't kill himself. Epstein Drive-equipped private yacht, which gave humanity the Sol system. And lastly, the Razorback itself, the pinnacle of powered aviation. Aboard the Screaming Firehawk, Alex and Bobby are following Salvatier's small fleet on their supposed supply run. Alex, trying to be realistic, says even if Salvatierre is dirty, they aren't following just one ship, but a fleet tender and 2 heavy frigates. Bobby, not at all dissuaded, says that means either they are all in on it, or being paid to look the other way. Alex argues that thinking something is possible and seeing it with your own eyes are not the same thing, which Bobby just calls out as ignorance. Alex argues further that they have both given most of their lives to the MCRN and that they have just found out they might be crooks. As we've seen this season from Alex, he's having a hard time accepting this situation, which is, fair enough. Whereas Bobby just seems to be like, okay, whatever, this is a situation now, so let's deal with it. She tells Alex a story about how as a kid she had a pet rat that she loved, and when the rat was dying, her mum wanted to take it away, but she kept it and stayed with it until she died, and wept and mourned for hours until she had drained all of her emotional stamina and accepted the death, buried it, and moved on. She's trying to impart her experience onto Alex in order for him to accept the situation and do something about it. Building a coffin for our dying planet, Alex says. That'll pop up again later. The ship informs them that Salvatierre's ships have increased their braking burn, which, if my understanding is correct, that means they are slowing down faster, and the Firehawk has had to adjust theirs to keep them in sight. Just as Alex and Bobby continue their heart-to-hearts, they are alerted to an emergency flight restriction from the UN, informing all earthbound ships are to expect delays as emergency relief efforts take priority. They switch on the news and are horrified to see the destruction of Earth. And we get to see what we have really been waiting for since, the opening credits. The first real wide shot of just how big the explosion was at the end of the last episode, and it is fucking massive. The shockwave alone spreading across the planet at a ridiculously rapid rate, dwarfing the reactor explosion on the last season. If I remember correctly, it looked like it did. Pretty sure it fucking did. We also hear that the Martian Parliament was attacked off-screen around the same time, so I'm guessing Prime Minister Smith won't be making an appearance this season, but we'll see. So yeah, first opening scene of the show. Excellent scene. I thought it was a great example of a well-written scene. We have a mix of exposition, characterization, foreshadowing, and reaction to the previous episode's events. The next scene takes place in a UN penitentiary in Virginia, in which Amos pays a visit to Peaches. Amos sits in the waiting area watching the destruction on the news feed, and as usual he seems very calm and unreactive to the violence. But I'm sure he's just thinking, well, that sucks, but I'm glad I'm not there. He signs in for his authorised visit by Avasarala, and I like the security officer who signs him in, like just a nice little comedy section there. He's just so bored of the rigmarole of his occupation, and I think well, that's something everyone can relate to, I'm sure. So Amos rides the elevator 10 floors underground, I counted the dings, into the Pit, a section of the maximum security prison that holds prisoners with body modifications, which they cannot remove without the prisoner's consent. Some prisoners opt to have them removed, so they can be transferred above ground, whereas some, such as Clarissa Mao, physically can't have them removed safely. And then there's the special cases, such as Konachek, the volunteer, a hench motherfucker of a prisoner with some serious Victor Zaz type scars, and he refuses to have his mods removed. He likes being there, apparently. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him next episode, wink wink. So Amos enters Clarissa's cell and is saddened to see her so weak, passed out while being pumped full of blockers for her modification. He sits and waits for the machine to finish, and as she starts to wake up, she mumbles the words, "Monsters aren't afraid," which you guys know I fucking loved, because I love Clarissa and her words of power, her private prayer. So I'm really good there, starting to incorporate that. Great stuff. Amos tells her a little bit about his time on Illus. She tells him her daily routine. Blockers every morning, food not in the cafeteria but slid through the door. Half an hour in the yard, therapy once a week. Then she repeats back to Amos his advice for getting through it all from last season. Breathe in, breathe out, eat, shit, sleep, take what they give nothing in return. Now Amos kind of has a weird reaction here. You know, he looks really saddened and asks if she wants him to leave. So I'm thinking, maybe he thinks she's either throwing it back in his face, or, you know, that he's just underestimated just how bad she actually had it. Or both. She doesn't want him to leave, of course. She's absolutely over the moon that the one friend she has left in the universe has come down to see her, even if she doesn't understand why. He tells her that he had personal business in Baltimore, and she asks why he's here now. And I think Amos only just comes to understanding why he came in that moment, and that is because he has a tender spot in his heart for cripples, bastards, and broken things. He takes her hand and tells her that the world is messed up and people like them deserve a second chance because it's not entirely their fault, and that he was lucky because he had someone to help him, which is why he suddenly called Christian to arrange the visit after the Lydia flashback last episode, because he feels he should pay it forward. Now that is good fucking character writing, man. Their heart-to-heart is suddenly interrupted by lockdown klaxons, followed by a low rumble and an earthquake as the lights go out. And that's all for Amos and Peaches this episode. So far, Amos's plotline this season has followed the books very closely. You know, a few changes here and there, obviously, but we've got to learn a little more about his history at the start of the season, you know, why he is the way he is. But now we're really getting into the meat of his plotline, and I can't wait, because Amos's story in Nemesis game is the best of the four, in my opinion. Naomi's is the deepest, of course, but Amos is a proper fucking adventure, man. It's awesome. And so far, I've really been enjoying how the show is growing him into even more of a big-hearted person, because that's what Amos is, and we love him for it. Cut to Luna, as in the moon, and Avasarala is in full swing, cursing every third word and trying to keep everything together. She hasn't been able to get in touch with Fleet Command and can't confer with the SecGen. As usual, her outfit is the bomb. Admiral Delgado comes in and informs her that a second rock has hit Earth. Oh, fuck me. Christian pauses for a moment in shock, fear, you know. She asks where, and Delgado shows her an image of the blast zone, and the rock has hit mainland America, 40 kilometers outside Philadelphia. I mean, holy fucking shit. Her worst fears have come to fruition. This is the exact kind of thing she's been working all her life, all her career to avoid, and as soon as she loses power, it happens. And of course, her family is on Earth. Delgado also tells her that they have lost communication with New York, but at least they know now that they are being attacked. Avasarala knows that they can't see the rocks due to the stealth tech, and if they can't get in touch with the SecGen, more rocks will keep dropping. On UN-1, which is the UN equivalent of Air Force One, obviously, in case you missed it, Nancy Gao and her team are working to organise aid for those affected. They want to get her off planet, as in her security people, her cabinet wanted to get off planet and to Luna for safety, but she won't leave Earth behind. Admirable, Christian once did the same. The leading theory is that the leading theory as to why the asteroid spotters, haven't worked is that they might have been hacked, hence the importance that Christian get through to her. But her, I want to say chief of security, fobs her off, doesn't answer Christian's call. As Delgado stated last week, he has been humiliated, and despite going to school with half the people on UN-1, not a single member of staff will pick up. That's when Avasarala gets the idea to contact one of the plane's actual staff. She calls the head chef, who she would have known for years, surely, and convinces him to lay his hand terminal in front of Nancy. The security geezer tries to hang her up again, but Nancy takes the call. Christian tells her that the rocks are covered in stealth and that Marco is behind the attack, and bless her, knowing that Christian has more knowledge than her at this point, humbly asks what she recommends, which is to link the watchtowers to the spotters, and then orders it done. It is nice to see her drop the pettiness, although who wouldn't when 2 asteroids have just decimated a chunk of the planet. She thanks Christian for her persistence. She may have just saved millions. Even if I hadn't read the books, I knew Nancy was not making it off that plane. There's a moment of light-hearted banter between the two, clashing ladies, and then just, looking how she moves next to the window. It's just a classic cinematic move for an unexpected death, I don't know, think of Sam Jackson standing in front of the water in Deep Blue Sea. And then, as expected, a third rockets, and Avasarala can do fuck all but watch in shock and fear through her hand terminal, which cuts out when the shockwave hits the plane. Earth just lost its leader. Well, it's not actually confirmed. I think we can assume Nancy Gao did not make it off that plane alive. Agadashlu is my favourite performance in the whole show, that's no secret, and she shows off again just why I love her so much. We are starting to see her at her wit's end, something both the audience and Christian herself aren't used to. The third explosion was probably my favourite in terms of visuals, a great angle on it from the plane window and the contrast of bright destructive light on a field of calm night sky, just absolutely gorgeous. Terrifying, obviously, but gorgeous. And I don't hate Nancy Gao, but I am glad she's out because I don't want to see anyone else leading Earth other than Christian Badassarala. She's like General Zod, she exists only to protect Earth. That is the sole purpose for which she was born. Another awesome scene. On Tycho Station, we see a worker seemingly on her break enjoying a snack. In the midst of absolute chaos and tension, we are about to enjoy a particularly tense scene, and there is just a worker chilling on a phone eating a space snack. Now that is world building. Game of Thrones season 1 to 3 level world building. Doesn't need to be there at all, but its inclusion takes nothing away, and it just adds further authenticity and grounds the show. A show that has ancient alien fucking space portals. The Expanse never wastes a chance to impart this kind of detail. And as we've seen earlier this season too, the hallways of Tycho have simultaneous ceilings and floors. Fred's security officer Laveau, who I'll be honest, I was unsure about until now. He seemed like the type to double cross. He's just kind of a shitty looking belter, unfortunately. He enters the office overlooking the cargo hold where Fred, Holden and Sakai can see their plan in action. Fred banters with Bull, who along with 2 other officers are armed and in EVA suits in the container Monica was holding, awaiting the ambush. The size of the cargo hold is massive. The scale of the show is just only getting bigger. And Clinton Shorter's score is tense and atmospheric as usual, and slowly building to a fucking massive climax. And then we get the establishing shot of a particular area of the habitation ring, followed by a shot of the guards outside Fred's quarters. Inside, Monica is watching the situation too. Briefly, we see on the newsfeed behind us some of the destruction on Earth as a bridge is almost submerged in the floods. Again, attention to details. The Zemaya arrives outside Tycho and it has been cleared for pickup. We get a shot of Sakai and she seemingly just switched screens and we didn't get to see what she was looking at. Security alerts Fred to a disturbance in reactor control. At the same time, the Zemaya slows down and flips around. Fred and Holden look at each other. And to be honest, they probably should have known exactly what was going on. They've been around long enough, especially someone as experienced as Fred. They say they have a problem with thruster control, the Zemaya that is, and I ain't fucking buying it anyway, but apparently they are. Sakai slyly starts to back up out of the room. News of the second impact on Earth reaches Tycho and Monica sees it on the screen. The tension is just building and building. The Zemaya cargo doors start to open. And finally Holden realizes something is wrong and tells Bull to get the fuck out of there. As Bull and his men starts thrusting away, a torpedo is fired from the Zemea and hits the cargo deck. And that just fucking looked awesome. Great explosion. Bull and his men are blown away by the force. And then suddenly, arguably my favourite moment in the whole episode happens. Sakai shoots Fred Johnson thrice in the back. The fucking bitch runs off, shooting her way out, and then is joined by 2 more traitors. They take off in a pod as she shuts down all comms on Tycho. The Zemea launches again, but this time it's a boarding vessel rather than a torpedo. The vessel smashes into the area we saw earlier, bursting through the wall of Fred's quarters and knocking Monica over. Oh, lost my place. The security duo rushes in and takes aim at the door. A dying Fred tries to reach his hand terminal and eject his vault, but it fails, probably due to the lack of comms. Fred tells Holden that it's in his quarters, and Holden knows he means a protomolecule straight away. He just knows it. He rushes off to help, and as he does, he grabs a floating pistol from the dead guard out in the hallway like the fucking badass good guy he is. We get an awesome and tragic shot of Fred being zero G stretchered away as he looks upon the destruction of his station, which is just fucking tragic, man. The door to the boarding vessel opens and out steps some kind of extremely durable, spider-like construction mech. The guards try shooting it, but it's futile. And in steps Sakai's team, who kill Monica's escort and plan to take Monica with them. The spider mech starts cutting through the floor, looking for the vault. And I think the spider mech is a really cool design. Although at first, when it came out, I was like, holy shit, this is some Battlestar Galactica Babylon 5 fucking shit or something. But it's pretty cool, it looks cool. And if you look closely, you can see it's branded with Savage Industries, the same company Clarissa worked for in Season 3 when she was in the guise of Melba. Holden tries to call for backup from his pod, but everyone is busy with the attack on the reactor. Fred's crew are trying to keep them from blowing at the station, which is arguably more important in that moment. Although protomolecule blow at the station, it's a bit of a toss-up, innit? As the mech cuts through the floor, Monica manages to spy on Sakai's terminal and see the flight path, so hopefully that might provide some use to them for next episode, but probably not. The mech finishes cutting and lifts up the panel, and we see the bright blue glow of the protomolecule as it lifts it out and starts heading back to the vessel. Jim manages to get in there in time and pops a bullet in this chick's head like he's fucking John Wick. Monica then wrestles with Sakai as Holden tries to stop the mech, but it knocks him down with one solid hit. Which is fair enough, because that's a fucking, well, it's a construction mech. It just hits him and he's just fucking gone. It escapes into the vessel, and Sakai managed to send it off. I love the little detail of the mech turning the protomolecule sample vertical to help it fit through the door. Nice little, again, just these little details, man. Monica manages to save Holden from getting Starship Troopered by the closing door, and then Sakai is sad that she didn't get away. As I imagine she realises that she won't be able to see Marco's plan fulfilled, but she laughs at Holden at the damage that that's just been done to Tycho and to the OPA, the good side of the OPA anyway. And then in the aftermath, Holden, Bull, Monica and Laveau pay their respects to Fred Johnson, who has died from his wounds. I like that even Laveau is on the edge of tears. What a fucking loss, you know. Fred Johnson was a great man and a great character, and we shall never see his like again. Now, this was probably my favourite scene in the whole episode. It was super tense and well built up and threw surprises at both show watchers and book readers alike, you know. The first surprise for me, which should not have been a surprise. Bad fucking memory. But, you know, it has been a good 4 or 5 years since I've read Nemesis games now. But that was that Sakai was the traitor, which, of course, the male counterpart in the books is. So I was like, holy shit, did not see that one. But I definitely should have. But the main surprise is that they killed off Fred Johnson early. I was very shocked at that. But I love it. I think that was a very good move, you know. For one, it's keeping book readers like myself and hopefully you guys on our toes, and that's always good. And, you know, Fred dying this much earlier also makes it more tragic. As Holden states, he deserved to finish what he was building. And also to raise the stakes even further, you know. We've already got the destruction on Earth and heard about the attack on Martian Parliament, but now Fred's dead, baby. And the protomolecule has been stolen. Holy fuck. Shit is kicking off. It's giving me the edge of my seat heebie-jeebies the same way the book did, and you just have to applaud such good storytelling and filmmaking. Great fucking scene. Back on Luna, and we get another Avasarala scene. 2 Christian scenes in one episode. We are so fucking lucky. She is trying desperately to reach her husband Arjun, whose lack of response thus far has been due to his anger at her, but now she worries he may have been a victim of the attack. She decrees that she will not stop leaving him messages until she knows, which is a nice nod to her chapter in Babylon's Ashes. She hangs up when Admiral Delgado enters. He updates her on the situation, that comms between Luna and Earth are totally scattered, that most of Gao's cabinet was on the plane with her, and the rest are scattered around the globe. No one knows who's in command now. Spoiler alert, it's definitely going to be Christian put the mask on motherfucking badass Arala. The silver lining is that the order to retask the watchtowers went out. Seeing that Christian is dismayed, Delgado apologises for not doing enough before last episode to get the watchtowers retasked, and that he was a coward. They share a laugh. They share a laugh that she doesn't deny his cowardice, because why would she? It's fucking Christian. She reassures him that he might not have been enough anyway. It might not have been enough anyway. And that the fight is not over. Delgado knows she's on the verge of a breakdown, so he takes her to the bar to see how everyone else is dealing with the news. Misery loves company, but so does hope. Everyone's terminals beeping alert, and Delgado explains that the watchtowers have got a fix on a rock. They move to the window with a direct line of sight and watch as another rock, which seems to be heading for North America's west coast, is blown to pieces by an awesome railgun round. Really fucking awesome shot. Shot as in accuracy, but also cinematography wise. The rest of those pieces are then slagged by a missile. Everyone in the room breathes a massive sigh of relief, but they know it's not over. Another great scene, short scene, but another great one. Shura again brings her A game, and the visual of the asteroid, as I said, being destroyed was just amazing. And I like this Delgado quite a lot. He's grown on me already. You know, once again, the writers are able to give us so much from a minor character. You know, they've been doing this since season 1, and it was nice to see him and Christian try to comfort each other. On the Chetsamoka, Naomi is taken to the bridge where she demands to know where they are taking her. Philip petulantly shows her Marco's ship on the screen, and it's a very nice looking ship indeed. They dock with Marco's ship and they take her to the bridge. She goes from bridge to bridge. Marco greets his son and they celebrate their victory, but Marco tells the crew that the victory is all of theirs. Yeah, come on, Belters. He then greets Naomi like an old lover would, and she throws it in his fucking smug ass face. He welcomes her to the Pella, his personal ship among many. So now I ain't trying to spoil nothing, but if you haven't figured it out yet, which you probably should have given the previous 8 fucking episodes, this is definitely not a Belter ship. It's definitely not a Belter ship, and you should recognise the design by now. Anyway, that's all I'll say on that. So he has multiple ships, and he tells her that the Belt needs them to be able to protect their own, and she says that warships aren't the only ways to protect the Belters, to which he fairly points out the hypocrisy, you know, as she already has her own fucking warship. She accuses him of aggrandizing himself, that this movement is really just about him and his ego. He argues that while there is some truth there, people change, and that raising a son has changed him and made him look at the bigger picture, which is obviously a subtle little dig to her leaving. She asks if that's why he had Philip kidnap her, so she could see the man he has become. He points out that she is the self-obsessed one, and that Philip brought her on his own. Philip steps up thinking he's about to be praised, but Marco instead humiliates him by questioning his maturity and arguing that he is still a boy desperate for a mother. And upon Philip's well-cast, petulant face, we see the seeds of a brilliant character arc planted. Marco says that now that Naomi is here, they can enjoy the Belt's victory as a family. Knowing Naomi has yet to be informed of what he has done, he takes great joy and pride in showing her the news feeds of Earth. Naomi obviously doesn't respond well to the killing of millions of innocent people. Marco ignores that and claims he has freed the Belt and taken back their place in the system, and that the future of the Belt has begun. A devastated Naomi accuses him of putting blood on their son's hands the way he did to her. Philip pipes up that he wasn't forced and was proud to do his part, which was stealing the stealth tech from Mars, seen at the end of season 4, and Marco bigs him up that it couldn't have been done without him. Such a fucking Marco thing to do, trying to keep Philip happy by showing how proud he is when clearly his mother isn't. Yeah, Marco's definitely winning the parental competition at the moment, isn't he? Carol then informs Marco that of the 9 rocks, only 3 hits, the others were destroyed or missed. We can see on Philip's face, and most likely everyone else's, that this was a problem, but Marco turns around with an arrogant ass smirk on his face and does the most Marco thing Marco can do, and flip the perspective of his failure into a success. That a third of their target was acceptable as a victory. He tells Philip to escort her to her quarters, but not before adding more salt to her wound in the most sincere of deliveries, telling her, "Welcome home." Philip locks her up in her quarters, and Naomi breaks down with some great acting here by Dominic Tipper, who is surely on the path to having her emotional stamina drained. just as Bobby described earlier in the episode. Obviously, I meant Naomi, not Dominic Tipper. Episode 4 ends with Marco's epic speech being broadcast around the system. He reveals that he is the commander of the Free Navy and that he was responsible for the attacks on Earth and Mars, and that the Free Navy are the military arm and voice of the Belt, despite being completely fucking unelected and inexperienced. Oh my god, Marco is the Bill Gates of the Belt. I jest. Marco claims that the attacks were retaliation for generations of oppression over the Belters, and that the opening of the ring gates only perpetuated the oppression. We see Holden and Monica on Tycho, Bobby and Alex on the Screaming Firehawk, and Avasarala on Luna, all watching the broadcast. We even see it on Fred Johnson's personal terminal, still floating around where he was shot, letting us know that the message is appearing on every screen, even without permission. He even admits that he has the last sample of protomolecule, which at first I was like, dude, that's a big fucking mistake. But to be fair, what would be a better deterrent to inner retaliation than the fucking protomolecule? So fair enough. He says Earth and Mars still have the right to exist, but their sovereignty ends at their atmosphere. And that everything else, the ring gates and the new worlds and the entirety of fucking space itself, belongs to the Belt. And the episode ends there, and it's a pretty damn fucking good speech, to be honest. Well rehearsed by Marco, no doubt. Now, this is what I've wanted to see from Season 5, a book-accurate Marco. One of Marco's major characteristics is that he has always had the ability to make people think his failures are a success. Flip the perspective and be like, oh yeah, that's what I meant to do. Or, oh yeah, well, that's a better result than what we intended for anyway. So yeah, win for me. And he does it twice in this scene alone. First, when Philip brought Naomi aboard, he was like, oh, well, this is great. I get to see your reaction to what I've done. And secondly, obviously, with the accuracy of the rocks. Once again, there are a few changes with Philip that I don't love at first. You know, like how he expresses his involvement in the destruction of Earth to Naomi in the book is different, and it's a really great scene in the book, and I really loved it. And how she tells him, well, never mind, because that could probably still happen. And, you know, with Philip's last words, Naomi being, you were wrong to leave us, I'm sure it will happen most likely next episode or two. So, anyway, for the show, it works very well, so I won't complain. Such minor changes are all part of the adaptation process, and now we're into the meat of the story. Both Philip and Marco are definitely pretty damn book accurate, and I'm happy with that. I'm super happy that the Belters cemented themselves as great people in Season 2 during the Ganymede crisis, because I think a lot of people are going to be hating on them now. I mean, I remember reading Nemesis games and absolutely fucking hating them. I hated Marco so bad. And like after the episode, my Indian mate texted me and said, fuck the Belters, are the Muslims of space. To which I replied, do you mean how a small section of them are terrorists and yet everyone assumes they all are? Or the fact that they're fighting for freedom against oppression and yet are labelled terrorists? We had a good laugh. So, that was episode 4, and what a fucking episode it was. The best of the season so far, definitely, and, you know, arguably a contender for the best of the whole show. And best of the whole year. I mean, other than, like, some stuff in Better Call Saul, that's definitely one of the best episodes of telly I watched all year. The scale is just fucking massive at this point. The visual effects are on par with the greatest. The detail and art direction and production design of the ships, the rooms, I mean, space itself, it just fucking looks so good. Take all that away and you still have a riveting plot and a pantheon of incredibly likeable, diverse and complex characters. This episode was literally just like 7 scenes with a basic fade to black transition between them, and like I said, it's arguably the best episode of telly I've seen all year. I don't know how you could watch it and not either be pumped up and or on the edge of your seat. Like it's just kicking off now, man. And the show has been so well crafted that the plot lines from the first 2 seasons are coming to a head now this season, and you know the writers know exactly what makes a show good and what fans want, and continue to capitalise on it. And without spoiling the books for those who are yet to read them, it will only continue to get better, trust me. Wink face. So before you guys go, I just want to say, of course, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I hope you all make the most out of it. Apologies for the lateness, the tardiness of this review. Ideally, I want to get them out on the Wednesday or Thursday after the episodes at the latest. But I am but one man and a laptop, and I'm doing my best, and it's been Christmas, so, you know, enjoying myself. Also, I've really got into writing my first Expanse theory video as part of my Endgame theory series I'll be working on in between Season 5 reviews and before the release of the final book, which is releasing next year, but could be in March or October, who knows at this point. Hopefully we'll find out soon. And the video I'm writing at the moment is regarding the unknown aggressors and what they might be, etc. So I hope you look forward to that. I'll try and get it out as soon as possible. So, yeah, as I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, like and subscribe, and most importantly, have a good old fucking time. Peace.